Maryland sports fans, there's only one sports book in the great state of Maryland with over 50 years experience booking bets and supporting customers. Betfred Sportsbook at Longshots is now open and is the only sportsbook in Frederick offering cash betting on football, basketball, world soccer, and more. Visit the Betfred Sportsbook at I-270 and MD-85 in Frederick, right next to Longshots off-track betting. Go to betfredsports.com for more information and your chance to win exclusive merchandise. Must be 21 or older. Play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Such an NSA moment when they say that. I'm always like, it's being recorded.
It's like, by who? I mean, all of the shit in our house is already recording us. I find that I'm having conversations with people, and all of a sudden ads for things that I've been having a conversation about start popping up in all my shit. I hate it.
So all you anti-vaxxers out there, guess what? They already know where you are.
Right. And with that, it's us. I'm going to let you finish. Part of the Pantheon Pods fam. Welcome. You know, it's us, Court Amy, blah, blah, blah. Y'all know.
I'm waving as if people can see me. Hi, people out there who can't see me. Well, anyway, so a bunch of sports stuff happened this weekend that go.
So Wimbledon, Novak Djokovic won again.
He did?
Novak, yeah, again. Of course he did.
Because nobody played this year.
Well, he also beats everybody too. So you know, and he's won all of the slams this year. If he wins if he's going to the Olympics, if he wins that and the U.S. Open, he'll have the Golden Slam.
But Rafael Nadal didn't play.
Yeah, right? He didn't play. No, after the French, he's not playing. He didn't play that or the Olympics.
I just wish Djokovic wasn't such a dick because he is really a good player. But
you know what? Dick. The best ones usually are, right. There's an arrogance that you have to really be the champion. That's just what it is. Yeah. Then we had the America Cup where
the Copa America.
Yeah, the Copa America Cup where Argentina beat
Messi,
Brazil
right.
in Brazil. Really happy for the Brazilians. Are not happy, but that happened.
Well, the Brazilians haven't been happy in quite some time. Mm-hmm. One of my dear friends is an Argentinian Israeli fanatic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ash Barty won. I didn't mention the female champion.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And I just thought, I'm like, oh, poor Ash. And Ash Barty won the first Australian to win since Yvonne Goolagong 40 years ago.
Wow, that's kind of extraordinary because they used to dominate the game.
Yeah.
Well, my dear friend Alex, if he's listening, hi, is a fanatical soccer fan, and in fact, and from Argentina, and in fact, was a little put out that the Euro Cup was getting all the attention when he was like, fuck you. But
yeah, because it was Friday and it was a big deal, but it kind of got a blip on the radar compared to the big England versus Italy Euro Cup.
Yeah. Which if I tell you, I literally caught the tail end of it. I was walking back from the food pantry because I am a saint. Mm-hmm. And there's some bar, and that's when Italy hit the penalty kick. I gotta say, I mean, I do enjoy watching soccer. I still don't understand what's going on other than really fucking hot guys running up and down a field. Mm-hmm. I mean, a pitch. Mm-hmm. But I do like the groupness of everybody watching. It really does highlight the internationalness of New York because you have everybody from everywhere rooting. And I guess that nobody wanted England to win because of colonialism or something.
I know a lot of people did not want England to win.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, I kind of almost felt like they shouldn't have won because of how they got in there. The game before that semifinal match, when it came down to that penalty that got called, it was a little sketchy, and they got the penalty kick, and that's how they got the one goal. And it was kind of one of those calls where you're like, was that really? I don't think that was really a penalty. But people seem to be quite in America and all over all seem to be happy that
I have no
that
connection
England lost.
to Italy
Right.
or England
Nope.
other than just going to both of the countries
Mhm,
before.
mhm.
No connection.
But for some reason, people were quite celebrating that they lost. It's kind of fucked up. But it's true. Like you saw down a Little Italy, there was sections of watch parties. People were definitely
everywhere.
excited.
Our friend Roberta is in Italy right now. And she goes, it's mental. I mean, I understand what some of the criticism of the English team, the British team was in terms of that the British soccer fans are notoriously assholes.
Well, you see what's happening after, right? It immediately turned racist. And now they're having a bigger conversation about race and social media. And let me just say this. I want to just have a little rant right here. So
okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to...
You know, I find it quite interesting that people still want to act like race doesn't exist. And I even have some people in my life who are like, I don't see race. And I'm like, I'm glad that you have the luxury of not being able to. Because as soon as these 3 men of color missed,
I think it's 3 or 4.
Well, the 3 who missed penalty kicks, immediately the racism was the first thing that was thrown at them. Well, and when I hear about social media companies always talking about, we're trying hard to figure out ways to get it down and filter it out, I call bullshit. Because let me just tell you something, Amy. You don't know how much and how many times a week I try and post music, 15-second clips to our social accounts.
Right.
That the Facebook and Instagram immediately block and take down.
I got blocked.
Immediately.
Right. No, I got blocked because I responded to somebody talking about needing an exterminator, and I made a comment about dead mice, and they blocked me because it didn't meet community standards.
But like, how does all this? How can? But why is it that they can't seem to get that under control? I tried to put something up this morning, a music clip. I'm always, because our show's a music show, I'm always trying to put music on there, and it's always getting blocked and taken down. So I don't want to hear that you cannot immediately do things like, maybe if you see nigger coming through, have a something.
Well, yeah, I would think that that's a. Well,
you would think that would be a pretty simple thing, right?
That's usually one of the ones that everybody can agree on. Yeah, that's usually one of the ones that it's universally.
Yeah, you know, it's usually one of the ones where you're like, that's some Asian hate words. I think we can figure out a way. If you can block the random disco song from 1977,
and
I think you can figure that out. And dead mice.
And dead mice.
Well, why don't we work on that a bit?
Yeah, I will say this. First off, your friends who don't see race must be the same friends of yours who are Republicans. So again, we need to find you some new friends. That's my goal.
I love that it still turns you out that I have.
No, it's ridiculous.
You're like, I don't understand how do you talk to them?
I can't be friends with people who have shitty politics and shitty taste in music. That's it. I can't sit in a room with somebody.
Well, at this point, I feel like all politics is shitty. It's all a giant pot of shit.
But I will say this about the British thing, and you know, yes, they are notoriously racist. But if memory serves me, the Italians are the one who threw bananas on the field.
All of it. No, listen.
Yeah. So everyone's hands are dirty. Everyone's
dirty secret that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to be black. Right. None of them.
No, yeah.
None of the minority groups. The minority groups who we should all be standing together will look at us and be like, the niggers are over there. And that's real talk. All right, but this is not about that. Let's move on.
Well, speaking, okay, this is good. Speaking about blackness, okay, so there is
the NBA Finals.
Is that? Oh, okay. I was going to talk about Clive Davis, but do the NBA Finals.
Always the NBA Finals. 2 teams none of us care about, but the Suns are up 2-1. The Bucks won the other game. There's another game tomorrow. Okay, great. Go teams.
Great.
Clive Davis.
Yeah, who cares? Oh, okay. Now. So there's going to be this big concert in Central Park.
No, let's back up and talk. The way they made it sound, we're going to do a big welcome back New York. This was months ago when they told us it was going to happen. Right. And it was like, we're going to have amazing artists. I'm thinking, oh my God, all these New York-based artists, they're going to rock and turn the pump out. I can't wait to see who do they get. And then Amy, Please tell us what the consolation prize is, please.
Okay, so first off, and I love you, but Paul Simon is a New York-based artist. So he's from Queens. He is New York.
Did he move to Queens as a kid?
No,
Wasn't he born in Jersey?
And raised in Queens.
Okay.
Him and they are born. So whatever you may think of him, he is New York. Born and raised in Queens.
From 9,000 fucking
Doesn't
years
matter.
ago.
I'm New York from 9,000 years ago.
And you're 15 times, he's richer than you.
Okay.
But you're about 15 times cooler than fucking Paul. I would actually pay to see you with the mic on stage, just going back and forth, reading the audience.
All right. Let me, your personal, your taste in music aside. All right. So the artists that have been announced thus far are Paul Simon, who is from New York, who wrote The Only Living Boy in New York, by the way, which is a great fucking song, and The Boxer, which is about New York. But anyway, not defending, I'm saying he has written some good stuff. Not my cup of tea.
I'm not denying that he's not amazing.
Me and Julio down in the schoolyard. All right.
Oh, Lord.
Jennifer Hudson, who has nothing to do with New York, and not for nothing, she's just a Clyde Davis plant. And Bruce Springsteen, who, yes, technically is not from New York, but he's a tri-state area. He is heavily identified with, I will give him that. All right.
With Jersey.
Okay, it's not only New York.
No, but the concert is Welcome Back New York. It is New York. This concert is billed as New York is back.
All right.
Where are the big, there's no contemporary New York artists, there's no black. They asked Diana Ross, who's from Detroit. She said no.
All right. Yes. The point I'm trying to make is, to me, yes, there are two issues. First off, if we're going to be, the geography, though, Bruce Springsteen is a huge draw, and he is inspiring, and he is still a fucking consummate showman. He has a show on Broadway right now.
This is not a diverse show.
Okay.
That's my problem.
All right. That is the point I'm trying to make.
Wait, isn't Barry Manilow on this show? It's like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep, because every time I think about it, I get so upset. I was like, I would go to the park, we're going to dance, we're going to have a good time. And now it's like, what's happening?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The problem with the show.
You're not even interested in this show.
I'm not interested in any show. I'm not going to. I'm not
That's
standing.
not true. If they said Pet Shop Boys are coming,
I'm not standing in Central Park for hours on end. The point. The point is that thus far the announced guests are skew a very old demographic or older demographic, Springsteen less so, a very white demographic. And it's like, if you're welcoming back New York, now I am going to hope that the other announced guests are going to reflect, maybe they'll get Mark Anthony in there if he wants to do it. Maybe they'll have some rap music. Maybe they'll have, God help us, they could drag Alicia Keys out there to scream New York State, Empire State of Mind. But I'm hoping that. But thus far, Barry Manilow? Was Neil Sedaka unavailable?
It's like...
I mean, and no disrespect. No disrespect.
With special guest Engelbert Humperdinck, because that's where we're going.
That would be more interesting. I mean... Yes, but are there no old New York queens you could drag out there?
It's like this thing.
No, it's just a bad. So I'm hoping.
Can you find a black person? It's like
Jennifer Hudson. I am going to hope that this.
But you know what? She's the one who they're going to have open up and sing something like "America the Beautiful," because that's Clive, right? Because what is she singing? She's not going to sing any of her songs. And I hope she doesn't come out there and sing, and I'm telling you, I'm not fucking going in Central Park.
Well, like I said, I am disappointed thus far. I am hoping that they're going to bring other people out. But for right now, it's just
and the two old geezers are fighting because they both want the closing spot.
Well, anybody who thinks that they're going to go on after Springsteen is a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. As I have said, demanding that you go on after Springsteen is the equivalent of the Rolling.
Do you want to know when it would have been fierce to me if it was fucking Simon and Garfunkel? That would have been amazing.
Yeah, but they don't fuck with each other.
And that's it. So then I don't want to see Paul Simon by himself. I know.
You're making Paul Simon is still a
okay.
Great musician.
He is. But if you go to our Facebook, Not one person is being like, wow, I want to go see
No,
this.
no one is saying they want to see him, but we can't say...
But we're saying two different things, and you're not listening. I never said Paul Simon's not a great artist.
Yeah.
I did not say... That is not who anybody wants to see in the park in Central Park. This is not a great welcome back to New York concert. This is old white men picked by the oldest white men and Jennifer Hudson.
Right. Well, as I said, I wouldn't want to go see it. Paul Simon does have a history with Central Park in terms of concerts. I wouldn't want to see it.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. My hope is that they will start, because they said there are other people that they are going to start announcing, and that this is the thing. But anybody who thinks that they can go on after Bruce Springsteen is smoking something, because Bruce Springsteen, even in his 70s, if he can...
Oh, no, he's going to rock the house down.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you want to go on after that? You're going to strum your guitar and be singing like fucking Dust in the Wind and some shit after this motherfucker does 10th Avenue Freeze Out.
Yeah, he didn't sing Dust in the Wind. That's Kansas.
Whatever. Same thing.
Right. Again, I am not a huge Paul Simon fan, but he has a catalog.
But he's going to be like, ooh, ta-ta, ooh.
No, not at all. Courtney, you're being very unfair.
Me and Julio Jamad schoolyard, la, 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 la. No one wants to hear that. We thought we were going to be in the park talking about fucking, I thought it was going to be like some Jay-Z. I thought we
Jay's
were
not going to do it.
But, he likes anything where he can be the headliner and be in the park.
We'll see what happens. Like I said, right now it sucks. I'm hoping it'll be.
And that's not, and I didn't mean, I just thought it was going to be more to artists like that. I thought they wanted a rocking concert. So I didn't think they wanted like the Philharmonic.
Okay. I've never in my life believed this. Is circle the calendar that this is the day I'm defending.
Why didn't you? If you're gonna do all of that, why didn't they just get Babs? I mean, I would have fucked with it for Babs.
Maybe they asked her and she turned it down. We don't know who they turned out. All right, they're going to announce in a couple of weeks who the other people are. Fingers crossed. So far, I'm not that interested. So far, you're right. I'm not that interested.
I feel like this concert is the kind that's going to have stations where you can get a glucose test, get your blood pressure checked.
Courtney, you resemble that remark, as do I.
Yes, but the difference is I'm not going to the concert when we're doing that.
Me neither. I can't stand up for that long. No, I'm not going. I cannot stand up for that long. All right, I just want to really. Do you have any kind of gossipy type of stuff? Because I wanted to talk about this Netflix series, which I am late to going to. But have you seen any of it? This Is Pop.
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I have it earmarked to watch.
Yeah, it was just. I've heard about it. I wanted to watch it. So it's a series on Netflix, which is based on a podcast called This Is Pop, which I haven't listened to, but I suppose I should. And so they have about 8 or 9 episodes, maybe, and one is about how it's about that moment when something happened in music. So they have a whole thing about the Swedish takeover, Max Martin, starting from ABBA, the Swedish producers. And then they have one we talked a little bit about auto-tune, that one. And the two I watched last night was the one about that moment when Britpop took over. And I am a ride or die Oasis fan. And it's great to watch the Oasis Blur battle from the British perspective. This is totally from a British perspective.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then, but the Boyz II Men one is fascinating, and that's an American perspective, because I think people now, not us, because we were around, we were writing about music and making music and in the business. People forget how massive Boyz II Men were, and not only massive. I mean, breaking records, 13 weeks. From
that first album to that second album, they were
massive, ubiquitous, 14 weeks on the chart, 17 weeks on the chart. And not only huge, but they had a huge white audience without sacrificing or losing their black audience.
Right, and they still do. That's why they tour all over the world. They can go all over Europe. Yeah, absolutely.
So I spent a good part of that period of time. I used to say when I worked at VH1, my job was to tell the producers which one was Wanye and which one was Nathan. No, that's Wanye. That guy is Wanye. So I've interviewed them a bunch of times. They're lovely. I've seen them perform. They're fantastic. So it's a really interesting, because it was a serious moment. I would go back to high school if someone would play End of the Road as my final dance. I would re-enroll. I mean, I think that's a perfect song.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful
First of all,
song.
they had pure vocals. You know what I mean? And that was the time where all of those guys, especially the black groups that we don't really talk about anymore, Silk, Shy, Jagged Edge, True. Those guys had vocals, the harmonies, and what really set Boyz II Men apart was their harmony.
They were phenomenal.
Their harmonies were amazing.
They were pure singers. I would say the only group that had those kind of harmonies at that point. And then they do a great job of saying how they set this standard. And then surprise, surprise, the white groups came and pretty much. Nick Lachey is fantastic in this. He really breaks it down and is very honest. They didn't get any of the idiots from like NSYNC or anything like that. But Nick Lachey is great. But I would say the only group at that time who had those kind of harmonies, but they were not mainstream, was Take Six.
Well, because they were an a cappella group.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how they started.
And the Winans.
And they're a church family and they're brothers. Exactly. And the thing is, no one can harmonize like look at the Clark sisters. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They can sound like one pure voice when they harmonize.
And the Winans. The Winans.
Absolutely. They have those vocals that are layered and layered. Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, this is just it's and Michael Bivins, who the myth of them discovering him is sort of blown up in a great way, but it's a great little slice at, I mean, we remember it, people our age remember it, but I would say that if you're younger, you may not remember, and they got dismissed. I'm not saying that I am like so fucking cool or so something, whatever, but that era, the LaFace, Flight Time, we're going to talk about that era, was as important to me as Smashing Pumpkins and all that bullshit was for other people. I was like, who cares? I can't sing sing any good song.
Music, it was R&B music, it was important music. It was albums that sold a gazillion copies. It's songs that are still played today on urban AC and AC radio.
And don't sound dated.
No.
Because black
music.
That's
the writing and the production.
It's perfection. Black music often is trend orientated and production, not all. And no, so it's worth watching. It's a good
all music, pop, it all goes through those moments, right? Yeah. And then and what happened with those groups it's funny that you would say that, is that it became, all right, well, you need to have more hip hop sound. Remember that came into R&B, and if you didn't have the latest rap dude rapper on your single, it became harder to get.
Well, that's the era of hip hop soul comes.
But that's also, and I've said this, and I stand by it. Black radio failed black artists.
Yeah. Well, watch this. I'd be interested in seeing, because it does a really good story. It's a story you and I and a lot of people who listen to our show and a lot of our friends know. But it's interesting to see it laid out in a very sort of methodical, interesting. The guys themselves, they look good. I mean, they were kids when they started this group. And it's just good. I really liked it a lot. But the reason I sort of watched it, other than the fact that I'm done with my latest French television show and I needed to hear something in English just to remind myself that it is my native language, is that during that era, there were like two camps of producers. You were either LA and Babyface and Daryl Simmons, or you were Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And that was it. You would pick up every album. It'd be like LaFace, 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 Flight Time, Flight Time, Flight Time. And they built this monolith of sound, and they changed the sound of black music and white music, but music in general. And so there is, believe it or not, the very first Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis album.
Yes, there is.
Volume 1, meaning there's a Volume 2. And Courtney and I talked about it a little last time, because I had a seizure finding out that they're going to be working, we both had a seizure, finding out that they're going to be working with Robin, who's going to be on the second volume. So there's a lot of press about this album. You can read about, the Times. It's gotten a lot of quote unquote mainstream press. I know you are not a huge fan of the record, so I'm going to defend it. So you go first, and then I'll defend it.
Hi, it's boring. You can go.
Okay.
I'm bored and I love them. Of course, it's great production. The songs are fine, but I find it boring.
It is there are not a lot of songs. The only song, well, first off, it's like it's like a fucking dream team of 90s artists. So you have Babyface on a Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis track, which I don't think has ever been done, which is like the Olympic dream team. You have Morris Day, which is with the Roots inexplicably, but whatever. Tony Braxton, who sounds great, still one of the best singers. Boyz II Men are on it.
Mariah.
So
Usher.
yeah.
Listen, they're perfectly fine songs.
It's not. It is not. It's that one side of them. It is more the ballad side.
And I don't have a problem with that. I just, if you're going to give me that tempo, I need it. I need it to be an album I can just put on and play, and it just gives me all the feels. And I found myself bored. So halfway through, I was playing something else.
Listen, I listened to it, so I could say I listened to it. Am I going to go back and listen to it? Probably not.
Which means it's not great, because great albums bring you back to it.
Yeah.
You're like, I need to hear that again.
But it's nice to hear that sound, and it's really interesting, and it's nice to hear those singers again. And it's interesting to read these interviews with them, because they talk about why this is their first record, and like they just decided basically we're not giving these songs to anybody anymore. We're keeping. So I like them a lot. Also,
we love them. They're legends. They're icons, and
they know who I am, which is shocking. So for me, again, I'm a simple woman with simple tastes.
Listen, I fuck with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. They're not going to make. To me, they don't make terrible music.
They don't.
I'm more interested to see what part 2 and some tempo. Like, it's hard for me in the summer too. Like, it's been we've been locked in the house and shit. I need some tempo. Right now, my ears aren't even going to be really tuned to a whole full.
This is more of a fall winter
record. It's like, I just need escapism music.
No, I understand. I mean, like, again, am I going to listen to this a lot? But there are some moments that I really do like the Babyface track. I really do like the Tony Braxton track. It's just nice to hear that kind of stuff. But it's sort of seeing their names come up again. Courtney and I started thinking about, as we've both said, and I mean, we talked about them a lot. They're just like, I don't want to say Lennon and McCartney, but they are as important. They are hugely influential, hugely important production team. You want to give like a little background on them, and then we can just talk about.
Well, listen. Well, we don't. They're Janet Jackson's most iconic period.
Right.
From Control, 1814, into Janet, into Velvet Rope, into All For You, and then they came back around again to Unbreakable in 2015. It's her most iconic period. So that's, to me, stands into a category all on its own, right? Because that's the right artist, the right time, the energy is perfect.
Yeah.
Superstar, you can't predict that kind of stuff. And that kind of partnership so that stands on its own. But then we want to go back to, Clarence Avant hiring them and the work that they did with SOS Band. And
and the time too.
Yeah. Well, the time, to me, like, they're in the time, but the time, I don't count that as much, because that was such Prince's thing that they didn't get to do the things that they wanted to do. He told them how to play the songs. You know what I mean? Because that was really his thing he gave them that deal. So they really got to break out on their own, leaving them. Remember, he fired them.
Right. For being late to a show.
Because they were like stuck. They couldn't get there because they were producing music for SOS, and I guess it was a storm or something. They couldn't get back, and he fired them. But listen, you think about those SOS Band records and those beats. But to me, from that period, and you got good. Alexander O'Neill and everybody. And
now, was Human League before?
Human League is SOS. Yeah, it's after. Okay. Human League is, they start coming to you. The white artists like that start coming to you after the big mainstream success. So that's after Janet Jackson has taken over the world and all of that. That's like after Control, and I believe right before Rhythm Nation, maybe. Yeah,
Human League was like 84, 85.
No, it was later. It was later than that. It was like around 86, wasn't it?
So, I mean, Babyface, Jam and Lewis, they were like the Twin Towers, basically. I mean,
absolutely.
But I think even though they're both from funk band,
LaFace, remember that? That was, you look on the back, it'd be like a LaFace production or
half and half.
Yeah. And then later on, So Def came into the picture. But those at that period, it really was.
Yeah, it was them.
The two of them. Yeah.
And you worked, and I would say, even though LaFace had lots of songs with beats, obviously Ain't Too Proud to Beg, TLC. I would say
all of Paul Abdul's first whole album.
I would say that in the beginning, I think Jam and Lewis were associated a little bit more with a harder kind of.
Well, Minneapolis funk, they brought that.
Yeah,
which is a different sound than what you were going to get from the South in Atlanta, which is where LaFace was. That was soul and that was hip hop, but that was Southern hip hop and that influence. In Minneapolis, they came from the Prince camp, so it was that funk that they brought and kind of gave edge. To me, nothing says it more than the Sherelle Affair album, from start to finish, every track. It is a brilliant album, and I always felt. That album came after they produced Control and right before they dropped 1814 for Janet. And I always felt if Janet had sang that album, she would have had hit after hit after hit after hit. And Sherelle did have a #1 hit with Everything I Miss at Home, which is her only #1. But I do believe that, to me, it stands up there with the best of their work as an album top to bottom.
And one of the tributes to them and tributes to Sherelle is that Didn't Mean to Turn You On was covered by Robert Palmer. Mm-hmm. And he did a great version of and that's on a different album. That's not on the Affair album.
Right. Yeah.
So they, yes, they were working with those men, Alexander O'Neal, who for my money is one of the great undersung artists of that time. He kind of fucked himself out of a career, but that said, I just think he is a phenomenal, All True Man is
a great album. It's a
top to bottom, great album.
Hearsay is a great album.
Yeah, top to bottom. So I think that, listen, I could seriously listen to, and then they worked with New Edition. They helped bring them into a new era with Any Heartbreak. I could listen to If It Isn't Love. I could listen to that every day. It is a perfect song.
To this day, when that comes on at any black function, everybody loses their shit.
It's a great song, and it's been duplicated. Sensitivity by Ralph Tresvant is a great song. They never really made a bad song, whether they were going kind of harder edge and bringing in more of a hip hop kind of vibe with Janet, with Rhythm Nation, which borrowed heavily from PE.
Look at what they did for Thelma Houston with her single, You Used to Hold Me So Tight.
Yeah, Nona Hendrix, Why Should I Cry? Solo, the song Heaven, SOS Band, Sounds of Blackness, which were, Optimism. Shantae Moore, who I never understood, never had a bigger career because she's another undersung.
Just vocals.
When I was going through the list of looking who they worked with, it was easier to find out who they didn't work with. Basically, They worked with everybody, and it's a hard thing to have a trademark sound without sounding the same each time.
Right.
And they definitely had a trade. You hear that swoosh of synthesizer come in and that's them. But no, I just think that it's not like they've never gotten their due. They obviously have gotten their due. It's not like they're struggling underground artists that nobody's fucking heard of, know. When, people will know who they are if anything horrible ever happens to them, and they know who they are now. But I just think that in so many ways, that era of black pop is still not given the due, due that it should be.
I just talked about this last week on the show when I talk about having black artists at pop. It's like they're treating this forgotten. It's like it's never celebrated a lot of times. It's almost treated like it's some weird anomaly in certain aspects, especially from certain periods. Like they really tried to erase Janet Jackson, but Janet Jackson was a pop monster machine for years, where all of those songs were such huge pop records.
I'm going to argue. Who tried to erase Janet Jackson?
I think you saying that every Janet Jackson fan would look at you like, I'm sorry, after her breast came out and she was banished from radio.
But that's not...
No, but hold on. You just asked. Let me answer. Thank you. she was erased. They stopped playing her song on all of the pop radio stations because they were owned by one company, all of the video stations. And if you even think about it now, in rotation, when you listen to a lot of those stations that play old shit, they don't play a lot of her songs, but a lot of those songs are huge. Top 5, number 1, top 10 U.S. pop hits.
Okay,
Where
I
is
think
it?
we have a different. I think you know that I'm aware of that. I'm talking about when you said they. I don't know. I didn't know who you meant by they. Did the industry, the Viacom and all? Of course, we've talked about that. I thought you meant the fans.
No, the fan. Listen, Janet Jackson is still Janet Jackson because of us fans who love her. You know what I mean? It's like, the fans never tried to erase Janet Jackson. That's
what I meant.
But they made it a really hard way to go. And still to this day, she started getting her props more in the last few years again. But I like to hear her music more in rotation and not just Nasty and Rhythm Nation. She has a full catalog of songs that that's our generation too of being in the music industry. When a Janet drop was a big deal. It was a big deal for pop. It was a big deal for the bottom line of the record companies. And to this day, to a certain extent, like the girl who's getting through and getting to be the woman of color having big pop moment is Doja Cat, surprisingly enough. She's the one who's got big pop hits here, and internationally they love her.
She works with a rapist, whereas Janet didn't. Sorry. Sorry.
Is she still working? Is she still working with him?
Of course she is. She doesn't give a fuck. So is Saweetie, for what it's worth, too. Mm. Everybody conveniently kind of looks the other way. But I misunderstood what you said by they.
No. The fans. No, listen. The fans are the reason why it's always been justice for Janet.
What Viacom did to Janet is well documented, and with Justin. I mean, that's a whole nother fucking.
And you know what? And you know what's really interesting about that? His career has been weird ever since that moment resurfaced with him doing the Super Bowl, and I believe he's working on a record. Let's see what the audience is for that, because that audience has passed. These young girls don't care. They don't care about him. Yeah, the people who used to love him are grown women, and they're going to show up. And I think he's lost a lot of black people. And that was a big part.
For sure
that was a big part of the audience. So who's going to care?
Yeah, nobody cares about country music, Justin. But I just wanted to make sure that people listening.
That's why I was confused. I was like, that they tried to erase Janet. That was such a big thing.
I literally wrote the essay.
I was about to say, you kind of did.
I literally wrote it.
Some people say, some people be like, bitch, I could write the book. You kind of did.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure for everybody keeping track of Amy's whiteness. I was like, I'm very aware of that. Believe me.
And you guys should also keep track that Amy has a really good new haircut. You guys can't see it.
You can't see it on the television.
It's a really good
Courtney
new
has
haircut.
new glasses. I have a new haircut. It's a brand new us. But anyway, getting back to
she's like, do not write to me on social media about Janet. We know.
We're gonna no, she
what would be good though?
I just think
Jam and Lewis did like an all-star concert. Like if they did, how they do those like fucking tribute shows, like Stock Aitken and Waterman did to celebrate the anniversary, and they had all the artists come back and did their record.
Well,
they had one.
Oh my god!
Yeah, but listen, if they had one, it had like SOS.
Were they mid-condition too?
Yes.
Yes, they must. Of course they were, because I went to that. I went to Lifetime once. They interviewed.
They produce a bunch of shit. Listen, their reach goes so deep. We're gonna put out a really good playlist to go with this show.
I really do. I love them, but
And my favorite oddball one is their Pia Zadora album that they produced.
I'm going to go outside and smoke a cigarette, which I haven't done in 35 years.
Listen, they produced When the Lights Go Out for Pia Zadora. That was produced in
I heard they worked with Malene Farmer, too.
Well, hold on. It was in 19... Don't come for Milene. Did you see her the other day on the red carpet in Cannes? She had the slit. I was like, Milene! Anyway, that's another story.
Yes. You do know I'm your only friend who actually fucking knows who she is.
Well, now my friends are now starting to know, because I won't stop talking about it, but they all find it weird, and everybody's like, I don't get your obsession with this.
It's quite all right.
And it's like my obsession with Pia. Now, this album was originally supposed to be on Epic because, she's part of the Sony family. They decided not to release it. They only released it in Europe where it was a flop. But I love the single Dancing Out of My Head. And, you know, it's one of those albums where it's really good Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis beats. And maybe Pia's singing. And maybe Pia is singing, but you also hear Lisa Keith singing.
Yeah, let's put that
very
in
loudly.
Let's see. All right, she's not singing. She's singing.
But listen, I love Pia, and I love that's one of those, to me, weird pieces of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis where you gotta at least listen to the album once, and you'll probably be like, "What the hell is this?" But it's okay. Just like, I love it.
We love them, and so it's you know, nothing. We love Jimmy, we love Terry, and yay for them. All right, before my computer crashes, what are you listening to now? Right now? Right now. What are you listening to now? Right now?
Well, I'm trying to get into this Snow Alegria record that everybody loves her, and you know, I get why people like her. She's the latest in the, you know, Janet Whisper Sing Club, and it's very sort of like that moment, and it's good. The music's good. It's decent. It's nothing that I have not heard before, but it's a cute groove. I don't hate it.
I feel like, I mean, it's interesting that she's Persian, I guess.
Right. Yes.
To me, it's hilarious to me that she changed her name from a unpronounceable name to an even more unpronounceable name. Which is like, okay, it's like, but
I clicked on 15 interviews to hear somebody introduce
it. So I know. Like, I'm like, Snow. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, okay, but that's neither here nor there. You know, she sounds like she listened to a lot of Sade, but didn't pick up the idiosyncrasies of Sade. So it's not bad. No. I listened to it, but I'm like, okay, you know, this is fine.
Yeah.
This is not gonna, no animals were harmed during the recording of this album. It's fine. Next. It's fine. I can now say
if I was young, but the thing is, if I was young, that vibe would get me. But to me, I'm like, I hear all the influences, and I don't have a problem with that. Will I listen to it again? No. I'll actually play her album again. I would. Yeah. It's like, and it's not.
It's her second album, right?
Yeah, it's like yes.
Yeah. All right. What else you listen to?
Yeah. New Vince Staples, because I really like Vince Staples.
That's interesting to me because I know you're not a hippity hoppity guy,
no,
but I like
him.
I like him too.
And I like people like him where they're saying something I can hear. It's not mumble.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, I like skills. I
like his vibe. I
will always pay attention and give it up to somebody who has skill and they have a point of view, and I feel like he always has a point of view, and he makes good music.
Yeah, I like him too. I'm listening to the new Salt record called 9, which is only going to be available for like 3 weeks, and then it's going to disappear. Mm-hmm. I have to say that I got turned on to Salt by 2 friends of mine, one of whom is Bill Coleman. Mm-hmm. And what the best thing I can say, and they're very prolific. This is their 3rd album in like 18 months or something like that. Mm-hmm. The best thing I can say about Salt is I can't describe them. I don't know. I mean, are they black music? Yes. Are they doing alternative? Yes. Are they doing, all sorts of, and
that's what I love when it's just music, man.
Right.
It doesn't fit in any box. It's just great music.
And not indescribable in the sense of like, what the fuck are they doing?
Right. It's just a fusion of so many different things.
I always get a Young Disciples vibe off of them, which is not a bad thing at all.
No, that's an amazing,
a talking loud vibe is great. And the other thing I've sort of been, I mentioned, I don't know if I brought it in and out quickly, but I've been going back a little bit listening to Second Line by Dawn Richards, just because it's an interesting record.
Well, Ricard.
Oh, sorry. Ricard.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, she's from New Orleans.
She's amazing.
I think
her projects are amazing. Like, she's another one. And I love that she's a black girl who really plays in the dance field. Yeah. And I really love that it's always an original approach. She's not trying to follow a trend. And I think she's a great songwriter, and I love her presentation. She's another underrated one who, puts out these records that are great. And again, black radio and formats have failed black artists.
Well, I also think that the problem with her, not the problem with her, the problem was that she got her start as part of a manufactured girl group, Danity Kane, which was just like, whatever.
But I
And
like
so-
those two Danny DeCame albums. So here's the thing. And the fans who love those albums, those are 2 platinum albums, those were really well-produced and well-written albums. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think that when
And then she went to Diddy Dirty Money.
Right, that thing.
But,
right.
but people have such 5-minute memory. These young kids don't remember that. I just think sometimes when you're out there on your own and you're doing it's like when we talked about Sparks, right? They're so, what they did and how they work is so outside of a box.
Right.
It's just not every piece of consumption is going to get it.
Well,
and she's very fierce in a way that I really think fierce musical mind and fierce kids are really going to gravitate toward that.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting, and Second Line refers to the Second Line in New Orleans. She's kind of dipping into that. FYI, Sparks is touring next year. Which
is going to be amazing.
Which is great. I love the fact that these guys are in their 70s and they're being rediscovered, and I love it. What
do we always say? Like, if you can stay in the game long enough and be authentic and keep working, that shit can come around again. We've seen it happen for people on different times. Remember the moment with Benny King, because of Stand By Me, the movie, brought the song Stand By Me back, then he had another big hit again. He had
stay true to yourself. That's the thing.
Keep working and stay in your craft and work in your craft and hone your craft and keep going. You just never know.
You never know. All right. Final words before we say adios?
Well, rumor has it that there's a second person leaving The View, but we don't know who yet. My bet is on Sunny because she's boring.
So smart though.
But I like her as a legal analyst. I don't like her on The View. I love her as a legal analyst.
Yeah.
I feel like she needs to go back to being a legal mind. She's wasting her shit on The View.
Her intelligence on the show.
I really do believe that.
Yeah.
And evidently Ramona's been fired from the Real Housewives of New York. She's not being asked back.
Fuck her. Fuck her Trump COVID denying ass.
And just
no Trumpers on television. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, Andy Cohen. You are a out gay man in New York City, and if you're giving these women who are COVID deniers and racists a check, then you are complicit. End of story. You can have a conservative voice without being a Trumper.
Well, he doesn't work at the network anymore.
I don't
care.
So
the network, I'm sure, ultimately makes the final decision.
I stopped watching. I used to be an avid Housewives.
Yeah, me too. I stopped watching them all years ago. Because to me, they used to
I was watching it last year.
To me, I stopped years ago because they used to be a lot of fun to me with the occasional fight like Friends do. But then it became, you have to bring, like, a bunch of people who don't know each other anymore. Right. And you have to bring that kind of drama. And the fights got so crazy that I was like,
they're all playing to the
I kind of feel like I don't want to watch a bunch of women treating each other like this on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
It seems a little ugly.
And the drinking, we don't, you're watching people who are alcoholics and drug addicts on television, and it's not fun after a while. And Leah is just the worst kind of white person ever. I've never seen anybody go from like the coolest to like the worst, like the type of white person that black people look at you like, I got nothing to do with this bitch.
Well, I used to work with Heather Thompson from New York. Heather worked with us for years, and Heather's great.
That's what I heard.
When I see like whatever's happened on TV, I'm like, she's a really great person. So I don't know what this mess is about. She's not even a messy girl. So anyway, guys, thank you. You know the tea. Listen, you can look for us at, remember, we're on the Pantheon Podcast Network. We're on their main feed where there's tons of amazing music shows. If you love music, there is a show for you. Scripted, non-scripted, tons of scripted shows about rock, every kind of subject. We're there. Then you know us, we're everywhere now. We're on iHeart, we're on Deezer, we're on Google, we're on Apple, we're on Huda Hada Hukalakali, we're on Hukalani. We're everywhere. So follow us there. And remember, We're on our Facebook a lot because if you're old, you listen to this show, so you're on Facebook. Where I'm gonna let you finish all one
word. It's the easiest one to just copy and paste.
If you're in your 30s, you're on Instagram. So that is I'm gonna let you finish NY or Twitter at Finishheimer. I know we hate that too, but what can we do? And if you're younger than that, you're probably not listening to us, so your parents are forcing you to. Hey, you have a smartphone. Follow us on all of those things. We curse, we're fun, and we like gummy bears. So, in that respect,
I don't like gummy bears. I don't like. I have fucked up teeth. They get stuck in there.
I'm like, how can you not like a gummy bear?
Well, you like edibles.
You know, listen, I feel like that's a very unchristian thing for you to do to attack. Those are for my motherfucking sciatica.
I'm unchristian. Ba-boom.
my sciatica.
I understand. All right.
I got it right here. You see, it's here in this part. It's my arm. It's right here. It's the sciatica.
My sciatica's in my nose. Ow, my sciatica. And on that note, bye, everybody.
Bye, kids. We'll sciatic the curve.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.